It's 7:46 a.m. on this Friday morning, and it's probably the last day of work for a lot of you this morning, so a very happy Christmas to you. I hope you're excited for the break. Michael Verney's with me in studio. A very good morning to you. You may know Michael Verney from such things as Coppers half an hour ago. Very good morning to you.
I wouldn't say half an hour ago, but not too long ago, alright, yeah.
You were at the Irish Independent Sports Star Awards last night?
Yeah, great night, yeah. It's great every year. It's such a relaxed kind of atmosphere, and everybody just has their kind of guard down, and it's great to they're just normal people at the end of the day and just mingling with everyone. And yeah, it was just brilliant, yeah. Rubbing shoulders with the greats. It's actually just amazing looking at it, just to see the array of stars we have in different fields now, between the hockey, the athletics, probably big emergence this year. Then you obviously have your GA and your rugby lads as well, and the soccer guys as well. Yeah, it's kind of mad how we kind of nearly have everyone excelling in some sort of field, which is crazy.
Yeah, we've got Alan Quinlan coming up a little bit later on. He left woeful early, I think, just to use your phrase.
He left early enough, all right. Yeah, he's cute enough. He should be fresh out today.
Seems that way. We'll have him in at around 9 o'clock this evening. But it's right, or this morning, I should say. It is right what you say about the different fields that have been represented in those awards, because it's just been this a strange year in a very, very good way, that we've got to know people from different areas of Irish sport that we wouldn't have ordinarily got to know. Like, even if you look at, say, the Young Sports Person of the Year award last night, Sarah Healy picking it up, like an Irish sprinter becoming one of our best young talents, is an exciting time for Irish sport. Oh,
it's unbelievable. And I even just thinking, like, even with the darts that's going on at the moment, we even have 3 or 4 guys in that as well. And William O'Connor is playing Saturday night. We just seems to be people kind of popping up everywhere. Even the gymnast as well, Reese McKenna.
Yeah, I should say that Sarah Healy's middle distance, not a sprinter.
Middle distance, yeah, 1,500, 3,000, yeah. But like it's phenomenal. Like, and like we've a sprint team as well. We've an underage sprint team to look forward to, which is just amazing. Like, it's great. 2018 was good, and the next couple of years are probably going to be better again, realistically.
Yeah, Johnny Sexton was Irish Independent Sports Person of the Year.
Yeah, kind of hard to.
Boring choice.
Boring choice. It's just when you look back through his highlight reel for the year, it's just like the drop goal against France seems like a long time ago, but that kind of just spawned a whole wreck of different things off that. And then you have Leinster's successes, and obviously the successful tour and beating the All Blacks as well in November. Like, it's just been phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah, it's not been a bad year at all. Let's see what's coming up this morning on OTBAM. We're going to get into the sports pages in just a moment, and we've got we talk about young sports people, the 2 rising stars of Irish boxing at the moment, Aaron and Stevie McKenna. They joined me yesterday morning in studio. We recorded an interview, and we're going to play out the majority of that shortly after 8 o'clock this morning. They're home for Christmas. The sports news coming your way at 8:30. Stephen Doyler is going to join us in studio, and as I say, Alan Quinlan is fresh as a daisy this morning, and he's going to join us at 8:45 to look ahead to the Interpro fixtures and chat a little bit about Ronan O'Gara's column this morning in the Irish Examiner, saying that Leinster get the rub of the green when it comes to the refereeing. At the moment, they're the kings of the jungle, he says. Time for the back pages. We don't have a back pages thing. Let's go straight to the back page of the Irish Times this morning, which is Klopp admits there is no margin for error. Andy Hunter's piece here saying Liverpool can take a 4-point lead at the top if they win at buoyant Wolves. It's Friday night football. It's proper festive sort of schedule at this point, where things are going to start stacking up. But the main story here that we want to touch on is Johnny Waterson's piece. Carried in a lot of the papers this morning, this news story that Taylor won't be held to ransom and push for world domination. So this is Brian Peters' quotes yesterday, that Katie Taylor was invited to Belgium to fight Rosa Valente for the sum of €130,000. Brian Peters says Katie Taylor wouldn't get out of bed for that sum. Katie Taylor herself saying that she doesn't say that she's starting to realise the professional game. She already knew this is the sort of pitfalls of the professional game, whereby, you know, it's tough to make it to a position where you can actually be the undisputed champ in a weight class, and trying to unify all those belts. It's probably just a matter of patience, but it is frustrating on the outside looking in that her rise has been so meteoric that to actually get to the next level, this political minefield has to be negotiated.
It's a real endemic thing of boxing though, like, and that's like, why haven't we seen Wilder? Why haven't we seen Wilder and Joshua? Why haven't we seen Fury and Joshua? It's just the ducking and diving that goes on in professional boxing is unreal. And just Brian Peters' quotes, he seems quite exasperated. I think he said he would have, I think it was, the launch was in Dunshaughlin yesterday, and he said he would have put the country club on the fighting whoever, the Belgian girl that they were supposed to fight the day before, and then it all falls through, and he just seemed kind of at a loss to explain why it wasn't happening. But that's the nature of professional boxing, and it's not easy to get the fights that we want, you know.
Yeah, it's Delphine Persoon, I should say, is the Belgian fighter. You've obviously got Rosa Valente in the mix as well. She was expected to be named as Taylor's next opponent. So we were expecting a fight in March to be announced yesterday. That hasn't happened. The frustration comes to the fore. September as well is the other possibility. March, I presume, would have been on that Anthony Joshua card, which is touted. But even that has got question marks around it as well. We don't quite know.
I think it's April he has booked that.
Is it April? Yeah, so it wouldn't be on a Joshua undercard then. It'll be interesting to see what happens there, but it's kind of frustrating from her point of view. The front page of the Irish Examiner sports section goes with Liverpool. Klopp's Christmas wish. Oh, what fun he'll have to see Liverpool win away, says the headline here. And Ronan O'Gara, as you can see at the top, Leinster are kings of the jungle, so they get reffed differently. But he's okay with that. He's definitely okay with that. Ronan O'Gara definitely doesn't see anything wrong with Leinster being reffed differently. To be fair, he doesn't really say Leinster are getting reffed differently. He kind of compares them to Manchester United when Keane was at his pomp in Old Trafford and they weren't slow to remind referees of the fact that they are the best team around. You know, if you've got that influence, you may as well wield it.
Well, that's it, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of a bit mad, and I know Quinny will have more of an insight into it at the kind of events of the weekend. And this ban going from 4 weeks down to 3 weeks is one of the most, for good behaviour, is one of the most bizarre things I've ever come across. And I'm going to have to ask Quinny, like, what exactly did he do? Did he bring in a packet of biscuits, or what did he bring in, or how did he woo them? Like, how do you impress someone that much? In a sighting here, and that you can get a week off? I think it's bizarre.
Yeah, whatever Rory Cockett did, I want to know, because that is some top-class bullshitting there. Back page of the Times this morning is Rice in talks with Ireland's new coaches, and this is carried across a number of the papers. The Indo have it on their back page, the Mail, I think, have it on the back page, and a number of other papers do as well. Things are looking hopeful once again, and I hate getting my hopes up when it comes to the Declan Rice situation, because it's happened time and time again. But it seems that Mick McCarthy has had a fruitful conversation with Declan Rice. Interestingly, the first thing that Mick McCarthy did when he was appointed Ireland manager, and this is before he was even unveiled, so there was a 48-hour gap between him being appointed and him being unveiled, he picked up the phone and called Sean Rice, Declan's father, to say, listen, we're very, very interested in this guy. And the way Mick McCarthy is talking, it's like he is quietly confident by the sound of things. Like, I'm not sure if we say a couple of months ago when Gareth Southgate met him and when he initially kind of looked like he was going to defect, I would have said I was 2 out of 10 confident that Declan Rice was going to play for Ireland again. Slowly then, as time has gone on, and we kind of started to believe that Martin O'Neill might be able to persuade him, my rating went up to about a 4 out of 10. This morning I'm at a 6 out of 10 that Declan Rice is going to play for Ireland. Call me naive here, but Rice in talks with Ireland's new coaches is a headline that gets my heart beating, and I'm excited for 2019.
The story that keeps on giving, isn't it? The story of 2018 that will carry into 2019. I'd like to say, I wonder what odds he was at one stage. I'm sure he kind of went out to long odds at one stage. He's probably quite short again. I believe Keane and McCarthy met him in London during the week. Robbie Keane going over as well is would have a big draw. Whatever about McCarthy, and obviously he's a fair old aura to him as well. Like Robbie Keane, everyone can kind of resonate with him almost, you know what I mean? And I believe Southgate showed him some video package or something like that and where he would fit into their role. But it'd be interesting to see if McCarthy and Keane were kind of able to tug at the heartstrings. But yeah, it seems I'd love to know. I'd love to have a final date for when we're going to know exactly. But promising again, it would be a big boost to McCarthy's reign straight off.
You do wonder if the Gareth Southgate approach of this very polished PowerPoint sort of suite of things that is going to help your life if you choose our side of things is actually the most effective way of approaching a teenager. It's like, it's not very cool, it's very corporate. It's like if Gareth Southgate wants to, sit down with a potential sponsor for the Three Lions and create some sort of corporate brand. That's the sort of thing he does. I do wonder if a PowerPoint presentation is the way to woo 19-year-olds.
Yeah, to be honest with you, if that was me, I'd go all for the heart approach and that kind of thing, rather than would say, a big PowerPoint presentation telling me where I'm going to fit into some structure or something like that. But I don't know, like what is cool nowadays? How do you relate to a 19-year-old?
I did just say Mick McCarthy is probably by extension saying Mick McCarthy is cool, so that's probably not the case whatsoever. But Robbie Keane, I guess, in comparison to all of this, Declan Rice probably looks up to Robbie Keane more than he does to Gareth Southgate, for example. Well, maybe not positionally and stuff. He probably modelled himself on Southgate to a certain extent when he's playing centre back and all that. Who knows? I'm very hopeful. Maybe it's just Christmas spirit, and I don't know. We'd love to hear your thoughts, by the way. You can tweet us at Off the Ball. What, out of 10, what are we rating the Declan Rice situation? I'm giving it a 6. Katie Taylor leading the way on the back of the Indo this morning. Katie's rivals are running scared of the unification bout. Philadelphia fight in doubt after Volante gets ultimatum to commit to life-changing offer. So that is the money that's been on the table for the WBO champion Rosa Volante. The Brazilian boxer has made an offer she can't refuse, but clearly she could refuse it. But they're going to play hardball. And Eddie Hearn famously said that every boxer has a price.
The $1 Million Man also said that.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what that price is. But Brian Peters is saying, no, we've actually got a bit of principle going here, and he's going to play hardball. So fair play to him.
She's never fought outside Brazil either, kind of another, like, so this would be a big payday. It's either, and you have to kind of respect it too. It's probably going to be maybe her one big payday, and they're trying to hold off to get the best possible deal to set up probably her career and her life probably after boxing, you know.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know about this whole idea of, you know, maintaining the idea that you have to fight within your own country's bounds. It's obviously to do with maybe hometown decisions and stuff, and boxing has just got such a history of decisions that are so terribly awful when you go away from home. But like, do it in London, do it in Boston, or do it in New York. You know, it doesn't have to be Katie Taylor's home ground. London, I guess they would very much view as kind of a Katie Taylor home ground, because it'd be a Hearn event and all that sort of stuff.
I think before Katie turned pro though, like, did you know much about women's pro boxing?
Nothing actually. Yeah.
You know, so like, and I just think that's probably the reason why a lot of these female fighters have only fought in their home country, because there was never a draw. Like, Katie's a massive draw, and they probably all know that, and are kind of playing up to that to some extent as well.
Yeah, for sure. You've got some of the tabloids?
Yeah, I do indeed, yeah. The Mirror is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'll make you so proud. Solskjaer thrilled to be home and vows to win over fans with winning attacking football. This is amid all the crack that's going on within the United squad, and Alexis Sanchez having a 20-grand bet with Marcus Rojo, allegedly I should say, that Mourinho was going to be sacked. And then you have all the kind of fun and games with Pogba as well, and they captioned this tweet that he put up the other day, like, there's something, it seems to be something clearly wrong in their dressing room. I don't know. There seems to be an absence of leadership anyway, I would say, definitely. And just looking at, Quinny mentioned it earlier on, looking at like looking at Gary Neville and Roy Keane the other day, and like two ultra professionals who soccer was the only thing that really mattered to them. And you just see all these guys that seem to have all these other like intangibles going on in their careers, which is just bananas, really. You know, I can't really get my head around it, to be honest with you. But that's obviously going to be a big story, going back to his old club. The Mail have it as well. Just their different line is Lukaku is Ollie's first headache. Striker may miss 2 games due to compassionate leave. And they have they carried the McCarthy positive after Rice Summit. Rice Summit has a nice little ring to it. Just in the Herald then as well, Wolves to feed off Liverpool. So obviously that's a big game. That's tonight, is it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wolves have a very good record by all accounts against 3 of the bigger teams. They drew with City and Molyneux this year as well, so that's going to be interesting. Liverpool can go, I think, 4 clear, is it, if they win, which would be interesting.
Cracking game. Like, that's just. Wolves versus Liverpool is just peak festive football. It's like mid-table versus top of the table, sort of potential shock. You're finished work for Christmas, and it's like, this is it. You're like rubbing your hands together, and you're like, I cannot wait to watch 1,000,000 hours of football over the next 10 days.
You're like a soccer PR gurus. Like.
Yeah, because the Premier League really needs more hype. You're obviously a big racing man. Is it like Leopardstown every single Christmas, and then you kind of watch the soccer on the side, or is it kind of like?
I'm not a big soccer fan, I'll be honest with you. Soccer wouldn't be in my top 10 of sports.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'd much prefer snooker, darts, GAA, tennis, that type of thing, over soccer. I'll be straight with you. I think soccer is painful to watch. I do. I think it's painful to watch. Yeah. I think it's at times it's a bad version of Gaelic football.
And like, why?
I just don't find it entertaining. As my father always said, looking at a match for 90 minutes, 0-0 at the end of 90 minutes.
So a lot of matches aren't 0-0.
I know that too. Yeah, I just
like this Wolves Liverpool match tonight will more than.
I hope it's 0-0. After all this, no, I've never. Soccer maybe 10 or 15 years ago, yeah, I would have been enthused by it. Just not now, no. I kind of fell out of love with it, really.
Yeah, well, like I could see why people fall out of love with the sport because of the sport losing its soul. But for the actual game, like I can see why, why Americans say, oh, don't get into the soccer because they haven't grown up with it. But I think not all our heroes, but like a vast majority of our heroes growing up were from the soccer team that we supported. Like it's from the GEA teams, obviously, but the soccer team was like they're the posters on the wall for a lot of people.
Yeah, Rob Jones, Stig Ingaby, Arnaby, they were mine. Jan Malby.
So what, Jan Malby his legacy didn't have a lasting impact on your view of sport?
No, not really, to be honest with you. My abiding memory of supporting Liverpool is the 96 FA Cup final when David James palmed out that ball to cancel. I don't know, was it 96 or 97? I think it was 96 because I think Everton beat United the year before.
Yeah, that was 95. So
yeah. That was that's one of my abiding memories. Saying that, one of my favourite sporting memories, and not just because I support Liverpool, is when they came back from 3-0 down against AC Milan. Like, that's sporting fairy tale. That's at its finest. But I'd never. I've lost the grapher, to be honest with you now. And once you lose it, I don't think it's coming back.
You wouldn't, Ger Gilroy wouldn't want to hear you say darts is a better sport than soccer. He said yesterday on the show that darts is Brexit down the pub.
Darts is unbelievable. The margins that they're thrown within, the level of concentration it requires. You're talking about 10,000 hours of practice to master something. Those guys, and that's such an easy stereotypical thing to say. Oh, they're having their pints, throwing a few darts. The hours those guys put in is just phenomenal. Like,
yeah, you like darts. Are you now pro Brexit because you like darts?
I don't really have much opinion.
That's what he said yesterday on the show, so it must be true. Yeah. You're obviously not watching the darts at the moment because you're waiting for the big one.
Would you believe I don't have the channels really, but I'll go and watch William O'Connor playing tomorrow night. Actually, was chatting to him yesterday, for an interview for tomorrow's paper. Really interesting guy. He only took up darts at 19,
right?
And took it up basically because someone told him he couldn't do it, and. Really talented guy, yeah, and he's got a good shout tomorrow night. Actually, good shout getting to the last 16.
Like when I say you're waiting for the big one, I mean obviously Lakeside.
The BDO, yeah.
When does that start? It's like the other side of Christmas.
About 2 or 3 days after the PDC. Yeah, Duzza's going for the 3-timer this year. So Duzza, yeah.
Duzza.
Glenn Durrant, yeah. Duzza.
Glenn Durrant. Yeah. Where's he from?
Oh, somewhere in England. Most of them are from England at this stage.
Yeah, they usually are. Yeah. Well, best luck to Duzza. Very warm wishes from everybody here at OTBAM. What have you got next? He's from Middlesbrough, Tommy tells me. Like, Middlesbrough is probably a darts hotbed, I'd imagine. Phil the Power Taylor's from Sheffield, isn't he?
Stoke.
Stoke.
Yeah.
Anywhere with kind of a good kind of coal mining background is probably darts hotbed.
And I remember you were saying about Rob Cross, that being one of the stories of the year. I don't know if you read that piece in the Guardian last week.
Yeah, that was very powerful. Actually,
that was brilliant stuff. Yeah, in fairness, and just how his uncle pulled him out of bed to go and play in the qualifying tournament and this kind of crack, and the high of it all, going from the down of it all. Like, darts is a crazy kind of thing as well. Even the concentration that's required to throw it all, it's absolutely going 90 in the background. So it's amazing.
We've got darts in the top 10. Let's go from 1 to 10 because it's easier to compile list this way. Michael Verney's top 10 sports.
Oh, Jenny.
What's your favourite sport?
Hurling.
Hurling
1.
Naturally.
Probably snooker 2, I'd say.
Snooker, right, okay.
Snooker 2. 3, let me see. Horse racing 3.
Yeah.
2 or 3, yeah. Probably tennis 4, darts 5.
There we go, there's your top 5.
Yeah, that's my 5, yeah.
And then, where
does wrestling come into this?
Wherever you want it to come into it.
Yeah.
6?
If wrestling comes into it as an actual sport, it's probably 2.
Number 2, right, okay, so
realistically,
gets, bumped down.
Then athletics would come in maybe 6 or 7 then as well.
And then what's 8, 9, 10?
Gaelic football, probably 8. That's bad.
It is bad.
Hurling's 1 and Gaelic is 8. That's just my opinion on it, yeah. What else have we got left then after that?
Not soccer anyway. Rugby?
Yeah, I'd have rugby in there just about, and golf.
Golf.
Yeah.
There we go. There's your top 10. And then just roughly what number would soccer be? We're talking 15, are we talking 20?
Yeah, about 15, I'd say, yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. Obviously, if Ireland are playing, you know, you'd obviously sit down, maybe not recently, you'd do well go through 90 minutes of that, but some of the best sporting moments, of course, have been Irish football as well, in fairness. I just, I've just never really got into the League of Ireland. I'd love to start going to a couple of games.
So would I
probably should, to be honest with you. And you need to go to the wrestling event in Dublin soon as well.
100%. OTT.
As is promised, yeah.
Yourself and Darren Cleary are going to bring me along. I just said I'd leave it live for a couple of months because I said some stuff and I was probably going to get beaten up if I went a couple of months ago. So we put a pause on that. You've got a couple more of the papers. Yeah,
I do indeed, yeah. The Racing Post has risen to the occasion, so that's all to do with Wolves. Wolves could show off big game mentality again. And then the front end, Ascot Aces, so there's some good racing at Ascot over the weekend, the long walk hurdle. Love and Respect lead Gigginstown bid for 5th Savills Chase. So Michael O'Leary has kind of dominated some of the big races at Leopardstown. So Road to Respect is one of the leading favourites, along with current Gold Cup favourite Presenting Percy for the Savills Chase. The Sun pay up. I said Jose will be sacked. You owe me 20 grand. That's Alexis Sanchez. I imagine you could be that flippant about 20 grand.
Well, when you're earning $500,000 a week, you probably can be.
Bananas, isn't it?
It is.
It's just that's one thing as well. I can't get my head around about soccer and how they can't cap salaries or how they can't cap, not wages, transfer fees and things like that, because it's just spiralling out of control completely.
Yeah, there's too many independent adjudicators almost, and too many different parties that have invested stakes. Like, as bad as the NFL is, and the problems it has at a structural level in terms of controlling what franchises can and can't do in terms of wage caps and stuff like that, is brilliant, because it leads to such even competition, and every team, not every team, but a lot of teams have their day in the sun.
No, it's brilliant like that, isn't it? Yeah, fair.
Soccer obviously is just way too big a thing for that to ever be. If one league does that, then they're essentially just killing themselves in the competitive race to the top or to the bottom, depending on your worldview, I guess.
And just the last one then as well is the Irish Daily Star. Mutiny is the headline. Players forced United to dismiss Mourinho. A good old player power story. Hard beat it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what, the 4 of them went to the board, I think, to say that we're going to leave, we're going to hand in transfer requests.
That's right,
unless you sack Jose Mourinho.
That's a real GA story. We're not going to play under this we're not going to play under this manager, but the contract
It actually is. It actually is. You can say that soccer's lost its soul, but that is a GA story right there. So we're going to bring you our first clip with McKenna Brothers, Aaron and Stevie McKenna here in just a moment. We're going to do a couple of Manchester United videos first. We've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer chatting to Manchester United television last night.
Well, it's great. It feels like coming home, I have to say. It's been now a few whirlwind days, of course. It's been like very hectic, but just great to see everyone again. It's 6 months, and I'm gonna enjoy the ride. I'm back home, if you like, and it's about seeing the players, seeing the staff. It's about, of course, just being myself. I know that the club's now running a process to find the next manager, so I'm just going to be myself in the meantime, with Mick, of course, and Kieran and Michael, and the rest of the staff. We'll just get the players enjoying football and looking forward to seeing the supporters again. Games coming up is no problem, because you got this squad, amazing squad of players. We got 20, 23, 24 odd players. They're all quality, and they'll all get a chance now, because with the amount of games coming up, as you say, they got a chance to show that they're Man United players. So my main focus, of course, will be on us, how we want the team to play, and then we'll give them 1 or 2 details about the opposition.
Yeah, fairly optimistic stuff from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in his first interview yesterday, speaking on MUTV. Then on Off the Ball last night, John Giles had his say on how he sees things progressing.
I don't think it's modern. I don't think it makes sense, Nathan. You know, when you say about Liverpool, like, all those guys were part of the winning setup. They succeeded winning managers, and that worked for a long time, as you know, for Liverpool. I mean, this guy hasn't been at the club for whenever he left 4 or 5 years ago or more. And to be quite honest, when he played, he never struck me as one of the leading characters in the team. Now, that's the way he played, you know. I mean, you could tell straight away Keane has that character about him, and Gary Neville and Sergio Ferris. But I never saw that in Solskjaer. Now, that might be unfair on him, because I don't know him in a private way and what he's doing at the club. But I feel that from Manchester United's point of view, I think they should have gone for a more experienced manager and forget about the connection with the past. You know, the past is past. Solskjaer's gone. Phelan's come back. They were all part of a different situation altogether. It's 5 years since Ferguson left. 5 years, Nathan. And they were part of that at that particular time. I'm only my opinion. I don't think it's a good appointment for them.
Yeah, like caretaker managers come in all the time.
Pogba, for example.
Well, that's, I guess, one of the challenges that he's going to have to face.
I think Pogba you'll see more and more and more and more of Pogba now,
right,
Nathan, than ever before, because that's what he is. He's got a head about himself, you know, a huge head about himself, and I think he will. I think he will dominate. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't dominate the situation there.
Yeah, John Giles there. Paul Pogba, big head about himself.
A huge head which requires a hairdresser to follow him around to most places he goes to. Yeah, he brought a hairdresser with him to the World Cup.
Yeah, that's the brand though, isn't it? It's like if that's going to get him an extra 15,000 Instagram likes, then that hairdresser is worth having in tow.
Oh God,
it's sad, but there's probably truth in that. Interestingly, this kind of ties in with Leaders' Questions, which is our new Stuart Lancaster podcast. You should check it out. This whole idea of creating a culture. Now, on this week's episode, Stuart Lancaster was joined by author John Gordon. Ger is also in studio here, and they chat about changing the culture from inside a sports team. Have a look at this.
For me, you know, we had great success coaching the England team, but equally, you know, on the biggest stage, the failure. And what helps me in a certain way deal with it is helping other teams learn from what I could have done better. Now, I haven't written a book. Because I don't feel it's the right place or the right time to do that, but I'm more than happy to share what I learned with teams and organisations to help them improve and learn from the things I possibly could have done better as the leader or what could have happened in the environment. And we're talking about, you know, the most incredible pressure on a team, a home World Cup. You know, it's third biggest sporting event in the world. So, you know, it has helped me deal with it by sharing what I've learned. And I think there's a lot of lessons that hopefully I've passed on.
Did you read you went in the locker room first after the World Cup?
Yeah, it was after. Yeah, no, it was. I read it less than 6 months ago. I think I'd need to check, John, with you. But I think one thing that Mike said in the book about he could have fought for the culture harder. Would that be right?
Yep. He said that he after their loss to San Francisco in the NFC Championship game, you know, they were one play away from going to the Super Bowl, the biggest, you know, game in America. They became an organization that was focused on the outcome and the results and the expectations of the world and of others and their ownership. And they got away from all the little things that made them successful and their culture. And so Mike says he allowed it to happen. And as all this pressure was coming in from the outside, he should have built the culture even more and focused even more on the culture. But he got caught up in, if I just win, they'll leave me alone. And that's where we fall short and we go down the wayside when that happens. No, we got to continue to invest and build the culture, doing the little things that got us there. I love what you said, Stuart, about, you know, the world stage. There's nothing more pressurized, nothing more like stressful than what you do as a leader. That's why I love coaches. I love what Stuart has to deal with on a daily basis, and I admire them so much because there's nothing more pressure in the world. Like when I fail on a test or when I fail on a talk, you know, okay, maybe 500 people will be there, maybe 1,000 at the most. When you fail on the world stage, millions see your fail. That's rough.
That's very interesting. The idea of what was the winning culture at Manchester United, that when he talks about a team that was going for a Super Bowl, you always think about this big sprawling structure which tends to pertain to American football, whereas what was the winning culture at Manchester United? It was largely based on the cult of the manager who had real control over the dressing room. To a certain extent, he instilled fear in certain players, and that's how I view it on the outside looking in. That's how he created that winning culture, which seems far more simplistic than what John Gordon's talking about there. And Manchester United, obviously, post Fergie, is just this far different organisational structure. Even during Fergie, to be honest with you, but like as soon as the Glazers came in, and you just wonder how did they get back to that point. It seems that they're at the point of no return. That obviously the new manager who comes in next summer is just going to have to adapt to the structure that is vastly different to the one pre-2004.
It's funny what you say, like you compare Fergie to maybe someone like Brian Cody, shall we say, probably similar types of leadership, even though I think Cody's kind of adapting his kind of leadership style a bit now. But it was interesting to hear Tommy talking yesterday about how the one thing he instilled, if they're talking about culture and like that, was spirit, that the team would have a massive spirit, and regardless of results or anything like that, that they were enjoying themselves despite as all the effort they were putting in, all the hardships they were going through, that they were always enjoying themselves. And that if you're doing that, that has a knock-on effect of things just start going a lot better, because we're enjoying each other's company in training, we're enjoying the crack, we enjoy coming training, we enjoy playing matches, we enjoy going the extra mile for each other on the pitch. And by instilling one thing, he was helping the outcome and increasing the percentage of chance of the outcome being in their favour an awful lot. At the moment in Manchester United, like, I don't know, like, is there any culture there at the moment? Like, there's
it's certainly a club in limbo.
Yeah, like, are there any homegrown players? Have they like, say, the class of '92, shall we say, would have backboned that team? A lot of homegrown players.
But they still have a good academy, and like feeding them through to the first team. There's still an excellent record there in terms of a constant string of matches where they have an academy player in there. Now, I could be corrected on the actual rate that's happening. It could be a lot slower than it previously was. I'm sure it is. But it's actually just interesting, even just the pure person that's speaking there, not John Gordon, but in Stuart Lancaster, and the parallels between him and potentially Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in the fact that, I guess, you talk to anybody about Stuart Lancaster, say, rewind the clock 3 years ago today, and you ask somebody, Stuart Lancaster, what do you think of him? And they're like, Stuart Lancaster, the guy who failed miserably with England. He's a useless coach. I'm sure there are some people who are saying that about him. Look at him now. You say to anybody, what do you think of Stuart Lancaster? And you're like, Stuart Lancaster, one of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah.
That one failure would have defined that man 3 years ago. And I guess, Leinster are very lucky that they had the open-mindedness to actually say this will be an excellent appointment, and it's turned out to be an absolute masterstroke. That, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, what do you think of the manager of Solskjaer? You think Cardiff City, and the absolute failure that was Cardiff City, which is unfair.
Yeah, just rewind Solskjaer's managerial career back a bit. Like, had he a good record coming into the Cardiff City job? Had he achieved?
He achieved what you would expect to achieve at Molde. But ultimately, it is a very different ballgame. The fact that they took him back the second time suggests that he's held warm in their hearts for sure. But I'm not sure is there more of a sentimental value than there really is there. By all accounts, he's a very, very good coach. The thing is, once you get him into mixing with the big boys in the Premier League, he clearly fell flat in his face.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's deserves a second chance in that respect. And I think
100%. Like, you have to think about what got Stuart Lancaster to that level. Like, they don't, like, nobody, no ordinary joke. It's the England job. Yeah. He obviously had a serious CV behind him. He obviously had a very, very good track record with teams he was with developing players. And you can't, like, we're so prone to overreaction, like, because of one thing. It's particularly in the GA, like, you could look at a team, could be a club team who have not won a county title in 3 years, but have been so close and progressed so much, and the players love playing under the manager, they love the style of play, they love everything about it, and just because they don't win, like, 90% of the Egypts will just say, sure, he was a failure, it wasn't a success. Whereas anybody that can look inside and see the bigger picture would see that he or she was a massive success. Yeah. And, like, you can't be just determined by, only one team can win at the end of the day. You have to kind of look at it a bit more. You have to look at what sort of position he or she left the team in. Are they in a better place? With GA, a lot of teams aren't left in a better place. No. Lads leave when they've extracted everything they can out of it, and the arse is just about to fall out of it, and some other guy comes in and tries to pick up the pieces.
Yeah,
whereas,
and that's often the toughest.
Yeah, and you can't be just, fair enough that World Cup didn't work out well for England, but, like, Andy Farrell and Stuart Lancaster they obviously have used what got them to that level. That didn't work out, and they've gone and kind of re-energised now, and, like, look at where they are now. Lancaster, there's a fair chance he'd be involved with Farrell, let's say, is there? Very high possibility. Yeah. He says he's very happy with Leinster, but he's always open. He's all ears. He's always going to listen to the offer and stuff like that. So that's probably a decision that's coming down the line. That'll be the next big saga next year is will he, won't he, in terms of joining Andy Farrell. He's fascinating to listen to. He really is. He did a piece with him, I think last year maybe. I think Jar or one of you were talking to him for about an hour just about coaching and everything. And it's just, he tries to, the big thing he always says is to coach in chaos. have so many things going on in the player's mind that everything, they should be so frazzled that they make the wrong decision, but you train them so that as time goes on, they keep making the right decision despite everything that's madness that's going on around. Really interesting block.
Yeah, it is Leaders Questions with Stuart Lancaster. It's sponsored by Cisco.ie. You can check it all out on youtube.com/off the ball. Brought to you in association, as I say, with Cisco Systems and Exertis Ireland, providing a secure, intelligent platform for digital business. To learn more, visit intelligentit.ie. Right, we're bringing you an interesting piece now on OTBAM. The McKenna Brothers, Aaron and Steve, two young lads you'll be hearing a lot more about over the next few years. They're home for Christmas. They're home actually training at Christmas, as you'll hear here. They joined me in studio yesterday morning for a chat about life in LA, working with Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya's organisation, and the early days in their exciting professional boxing careers. Right, I am delighted to say that we've got two of the stars of 2018 with us in studio now. Aaron McKenna, Stevie McKenna, you're very welcome.
Thanks very much.
Welcome home, first of all.
It's good to be back in Ireland.
2018 hasn't been bad.
Yeah, it's been a great year so far, so it has. I've had 6 pro fights and 4 of them by knockouts, and I've learned a lot in the past year, and I've really developed into a nice style, so have. And I just can't wait to see what next year holds for me, and it's going to be an exciting year ahead.
Absolutely. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of how 2018 has developed for you. Stevie as well, it's not been a bad year for you. You signed up with Golden Boy as well, and your first professional fight coming in the new year.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make my debut in February, sometime maybe the end of February. And it's been a great year for me as well, learning a lot from Aaron as well, how he's did and how he's been doing in the ring. So it's a great experience for me. The whole year I've been out since January last year, and I've been sparring with all world champions, Vasil Lomachenko as well, who's the pound for pound #1. It's an unbelievable experience, like you wouldn't get it anywhere else in the world.
Your Twitter profile is incredible. If you just click the media tab, the amount of people, I think you're a little bit more prolific posting on Twitter than you are, Aaron.
Yeah.
We'll go through some of those pictures later on, but it's just a who's who of the boxing world and indeed of the celebrity world. Like, you mentioned that you've learned a lot from Aaron. I'm sure you've learned a lot from Stevie as well, and from your older brother Gary. So basically there's 3 of you in the family growing up in Smithborough in County Monaghan. When did you first lace up a pair of gloves? I suppose we'll start with you first of all, Stevie, because I presume it gets younger and younger and younger the further down the chain you go in the McKenna family.
Well, I started when I was 8 years old. I used to start off in karate. My dad used to run a karate club, and we started off in that, both me and Aaron, but we didn't really like it that much, and then we said we'll go to the boxing club and try it, and then the minute we went there we fell in love with it. Like, it was just unbelievable. We loved it. Why?
What gave you a better rush than karate? What was it about boxing?
I don't know, it was just going into the ring and sparring and that. I just loved punching, fighting people. You know, karate at the start, it was more, you didn't really get to spar with each other in it, so you got to punch people and all. So I liked it when I was younger. So Aaron as well, he started with me at the same time, so both of us went down to our local club.
I'm guessing you probably didn't have an option in all of this. It was either going to be boxing or no sport at all for you.
No, at the time as well, I was doing karate.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but in karate, you didn't really get to hit anyone. So in boxing, you did, and we enjoyed that. So we've been training. I've been training ever since I was 6, and my dad built a boxing gym at the back of the house. So ever since we started boxing, we've been training all there, us 3, me, Gary and Stephen, just sparring with each other our whole lives nearly, and we've pushed each other on, and we're all really competitive with each other in training, especially me and Stephen now over in America. Even if it's running, we're competitive with each other, or sparring, and even in sparring, if it ever got heated, that's good, because we get razor sharp out of each other.
Razor sharp indeed. It is Aaron on the left, Stevie on the right. They're the McKenna Brothers. They're home for Christmas, and we're going to go to another clip here. Some footage of the lads training and fighting over in the United States. The full 30-minute interview, by the way, is going to be up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/off the ball. Here's the next part of the interview.
They look really well after me and Aaron. Everything's there for us. Like, we have apartment and all sorted for us. So we also have a great coach as well, Courage Tijabala. He's a really good coach. He's big as well. He's but the same height as us, and we need that. You know, when we're on the pads and not a big lad to be able to hold them for us.
That's you, Stevie. He was a heavyweight, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's heavyweight. 30 fights, 26 wins, and he was a hard hitter, so he was.
How good a trainer is he?
Yeah, he's really good. He's very smart and technical, and we really take them. So he's strong. He's very good in the pads as well. He's smart.
So basically, am I right in saying that you've had two full-time trainers in your life, your father and Courage Shabalala?
Yeah.
How similar are they?
Yeah, they both think very alike. Yeah. My dad as well, he's been training us our whole life, so him and Courage is looking after us. So both of them do different things with us. And they work together and they're a really good team.
Yeah.
They work well together.
I wanted to ask you about this. So you're light welterweight. So say, Aaron, if we talk about you, I think you're 6'1".
6'1", yeah.
That's quite tall for a light welterweight.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very tall.
Very tall.
Well, not very, but tall. Like most people at that weight would probably be like 5'10".
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, so at what point? Like, obviously, you can see the strength and conditioning here, and we can see from any boxer really once they get into their 20s. You mentioned having 15 fights under your belt or something by the age of 23 when you start to build up, as they call, man strength and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that even a factor for you? Because like we've seen some of your knockouts, we've seen that power is there, even though some people might not see it in weigh-ins or whatever it may be. Like that you actually have that, and that the idea of your body shape isn't actually what dictates how much power you have.
Yeah, my last fight there, I dropped the guy with a body shot, and that was just...
Yeah, I have the footage here actually.
Yeah, and it was just the placement of the shot, you see. Once you hit the right spot, they'll go down. But in another few years, once I get my man strength, that's when I'll really start shining through. But
you're still able to do this, so we're going to get... we've seen him go down there, and I think we might get a replay of it in a sec. Talk us through this here. So you obviously get the left in there at that point. Do you see an opening in his stance and you think straight away that's an opportunity to finish him, or are you actually surprised by the fact that he goes down?
No, because when you're fighting people like that, when you hit them with the headshots, they don't really get hurt too much. It's the body shots that really hurt them, and that's something that we've been working on in the gym over this past year, is the body shots. And once you go to the body, they'll just fall, and it showed in that fight that it really worked.
You say that you're very tall for light welterweight. How can you use your height as an advantage?
I have a long reach too, and a lot of people were comparing me to Thomas Hitman Hearns. When I met Mickey Ward that time, and he seen some of my footage, that's what he said to me. I'm like him, and I get good leverage behind my punches, and that's what I have to do, is just keep my reach and get good leverage behind the long arms.
And how do you manage to build that up? Is that something that you have naturally, do you feel, getting that leverage, or is it something that you can teach and develop later in life?
Yeah, it's something that Courage has been teaching us in the gym. Just a good solid jab as well, and just going behind the jab, and the combinations will come.
Yeah, interesting stuff there from Aaron McKenna. The idea of being 6'1" and being a light welterweight, like the average height for a light welterweight is 5'10". Like, so the kind of regular weight for a light welterweight is 140 pounds. If he puts on 7 pounds, which he's probably going to do when he gets his man strength, as he says, like that's 147 pounds for a welterweight, and then light middleweight then is 154 pounds. Like, the spectrum of weight class for this guy is incredible, but I guess there is balancing that with the idea of the fact that his height and his reach is such an advantage for him at this point. Yeah,
it was kind of like Conor McGregor fighting a featherweight. Do you know what I mean? You have a lot of natural advantages or whatever. Like, his punches at 14 pounds higher than what he's fighting at the moment mightn't hurt lads as much as they would at light welterweight, you know what I mean? So, and he's going to find it very hard to be hit at light welterweight as well. Well, the thing you were observed there actually from that, from the lads throwing the ball at each other, was that Aaron wasn't taking a single back step. No, he never moved at all. Like, it was just, he can take a punch. It was been pegged right at the core area, and he was just standing and giving it back twice as hard. Like, whereas his brother probably was pushing back a small bit. But to be fair, Aaron's probably been in that sort of training for a bit longer than him as well. But it's fascinating, and we were talking about like the Irish, the wealth of talent in sports as well. Like, you have these guys. Golden Boy picked Aaron McKenna up when he was with 17. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
16, I think, when he initially had the first interest. Yeah,
bananas, really. Like, when you think about it, like, it's crazy. Like,
You were saying that boxing would have actually been in your top 10 had we given you a warning of your top 10 sports.
Yeah.
Creed 2 is probably in your top 2-3 movies of the year.
I went in with little expectation, and I thought it was fantastic. Now I have to say, it was probably Sly Stallone's probably best performance, I would say, probably since the original Rocky.
Oh,
yeah.
That is a big statement from Michael Verney this morning.
I thought it was brilliant.
Soccer down your top 10 sports. Sylvester Stallone back to his best. They are hot takes this morning.
Yeah, and I thought it was really good. Now, yeah, for anyone who loves like the Rocky franchise, they'll be absolutely delighted with this. Definitely better than Creed, the original Creed, and Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa is not great.
It's not great. No, I think Rocky 5 is seriously underrated. So it comes in somewhere in around that, I think.
So what are we knocking out of your top 10 then, Michael? So we've got hurling, wrestling, snooker, horse racing, tennis, darts, athletics, Gaelic football, rugby, golf, and now
rugby.
Boxing. Rugby. Goodbye, rugby. So rugby and soccer don't make your top 10 sports. That's controversial there. What about what about the Irish Independent Sports Star of the Year, Johnny Sexton? It doesn't even make it into your top 10 sports, let alone as an individual.
Look, I have a massive appreciation for what he does. Don't worry. A lot of it with the soccer is we still don't have Sky or like that, so I don't get the opportunity to watch a lot of it.
Very good point.
Rugby as well, sure. Most of that is on Sky now as well, so I wouldn't get a chance to watch it as well, you know.
Very, very good point.
You know, the darts, BDO's on Channel 4 and snooker's on BBC and Eurosport and...
Yeah, that's absolutely pivotal in fairness.
Boxing, can I just say, boxing is great. It's coming back a bit now. Looking back into, but I think some of the best sports books are boxing books.
Oh yeah, without question.
Some of them are like, they mentioned Thomas Hearns there. There's a brilliant book called The Four Kings. It's just talking about Hearns, Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, and it's just phenomenal going through all the different fights between them all. And it's great that even the Tyson Fury and Wilder fight has brought the buzz back a bit, and if one of them do go on to fight Joshua now as well, the buzz is kind of back.
I think you need a strong heavyweight division.
You do, yeah. Right. It carries it really, like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So one more clip here from the McKenna Brothers. We told you life was good in Santa Monica. Here is the cast of celebrities that have made it onto Stevie's Twitter page.
We were just walking down the street, and then Stephen heard someone whistling behind him, and he looked around and he said, "There's Adam Sandler." And straight away just whipped out the phone to get a picture with him.
Have a conversation with him?
Yeah, we were talking to him for a couple of minutes, and his bodyguard was actually from Ireland.
All right.
He was, yeah, and he seemed to have a keen interest in boxing too.
Do you know who you guys were?
He didn't know who we were, but like we told him I was signed with Golden Boy Promotions, and he seemed like, yeah. And then later on that day, when we were coming back from the gym, we were pulling into the alley, to park at the apartment, and we seen him driving out, and my dad pulled down the window and had another conversation with him. So
right, okay.
Seen him twice in one day. It's unheard of, like.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just bumping into these people randomly.
And then we met Kendrick Lamar too at the gym.
Yeah.
So
we may as well get the picture up of Kendrick now. There's a couple of images of Kendrick Lamar actually. This is the one really that kind of went all around the world and back here, and I think people kind of sat up and took notice for a moment. It was so what was he like?
Oh yeah, he's very sound. Yeah, really nice guy, and yeah, we met him. That's the first time we met him at the gym, and he watched me and Stephen spar too, and then afterwards we were talking to him, and he had a keen interest in boxing as well. And
that's your dad on the left and Courage on the very left, isn't it?
Yeah, that's them, yeah.
And the Monaghan flag on the right, most importantly.
Yeah. And who would have thought you'd see Kendrick Lamar beside him on his flag? And that there was just before my fight. He came in to wish me luck, so he's a really nice guy.
Is he?
Yeah.
Big boxing fan?
Yeah.
Are you a big fan of Kendrick?
Yeah, like
better say that after you've met him now.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like it must be mad just thinking that you've come from a relatively small place, albeit an extremely famous place in Monaghan when it comes to producing boxers, to within a couple of years living in Los Angeles and pursuing a dream. And not only are you pursuing the dream is so evident and it's right there in front of you. You've signed for a promotions company run by one of the most famous combat sports athletes of all time. You're living in one of the most famous areas when it comes to celebrity culture of all time. It's not bad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
But let's roll through some of the other pictures. We've got De La Hoya with you, Stevie, here first. And, of course, we've got a picture with you, Aaron, with Oscar as well. What's he like?
Oh, yeah, he's a great man. He gives me great advice as well after every fight, and he's been to all my fights as well. So, I've always watched him growing up, and he's one of the best fighters out there. And him, Marvin Hagler, and Mike Tyson's are the three styles I try to get into my style, but he's one of the main ones.
What is it about that style that you try and implement?
His jab and his combinations. Yeah, he had a great jab, so he did, and his combinations were unreal.
And would you be watching a lot of Tyson, Hagler and De La Hoya videos?
Yeah, growing up I always used to watch all them old footages of them, and I still do to this day. And to have Oscar on my team's unbelievable, and the good sound supportive advice he gives me too is...
What sort of advice?
Just like the jab is key and all that type of stuff, and once you can land the jab, the combinations will come, stuff like that.
I see Dana White's had a pop at him over the last couple of days. Is he trying to make his way into the MMA arena or something like that?
Don't really know too much about that. Like. Yeah,
it's just a bit of a war of words at the moment, as tends to be the case. We've got, you mentioned Lomachenko there, Stevie. We've got a picture of you with him. Is this, I dare say, the toughest sparring session you've ever put down? Like, obviously there's a bit of a difference there in terms of style, in terms of height, in terms of weight. What's he like to be up against in the ring?
Yeah, it was unbelievable to share the ring with Lomachenko. It was like a game of chess. The first couple of rounds is really technical. It took him a while. He couldn't really figure me out with my long reach and all. And I had to box him in southpaw as well, my opposite stance. So we're looking southpaw sparring. So I said I'll spar him.
Right.
I changed stance and...
So there's like an array of people in the gym. You volunteered basically to go up against them.
I was there the week before sparring, you see, and then they seen me and they said, do you want to spar with Lomachenko? And I said, yeah, go for it. And then we went back the next week and sparred with him, and did 5 rounds. It was.
And you held your own by the sounds of things. The way you're talking there, it sounds like it went pretty well.
Yeah, it went good. Yeah, it was very technical spar though. It was really good. I learnt a lot from it. You couldn't ask for better sparring. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, we'll roll on to the next image here. It is the man of the moment, really. It's the two lads with Tyson. Oh, that's Amir Khan. Tyson Fury as well. We have a picture of who's a bit more of the man of the moment. I'm sure you watched the fight against Wilder recently. How incredible, from like the expertise you've built up. Thankfully, you haven't hit the canvas too many times in your short career as amateurs or professional just yet. But what he did in that 12th round against Deontay Wilder, can you put into words what that takes?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I don't know how he got up from it, but it just shows how much will he had to get up from it. It was an unbelievable shot that he took, and he's a really nice guy as well. Yeah, we were talking to him in the gym in the wild card, so he was watching us train and that, so it was good to get talking to him.
Who's the best heavyweight in the world right now, in your opinion?
It's a hard one to call, but
it is.
Yeah, the Joshua and Fury and Wilder, them's the main 3 at the minute, but we'll find out anyway, I'd say in the next year who is.
You sure will. What about pound for pound? Do you have a favourite boxer or someone you deem to be the best? Like, I think you said Lomachenko in that tweet is the best pound for pound boxer in the world. I'm not sure, do you share that opinion?
Yeah, I think Lomachenko, either him or Canelo.
Yeah.
Yeah, either one of them.
Your stablemate?
Yeah.
Have you met Canelo?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, not yet, no.
So that's another one off the list. That's your goal for 2019 now, is to get a picture with Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
You've met one of the Klitschkos as well. I think these are mostly from your Twitter account, Stevie. Liverpool jersey on there, Vitali in the middle, obviously. We've seen Kendrick. Adam Sandler, you mentioned Adam Sandler. Here's the actual picture that you got with him. And finally, Andre 3000.
Oh, yeah.
What's he like?
Yeah, he's a really nice guy too. I was just training at Iron Gym in Santa Monica, and there he was training as well. I got a picture with him. He's a real nice guy too.
You've got to brush up on your Outcast and your Kendrick for the next couple of weeks, and make sure you're big fans heading into the new year. Yeah. It's been great to catch up with you. You said you're training at the moment. Like, is it going to be pretty much every day bar Christmas Day, or is it all the way through Christmas, or what's your schedule like?
Yeah, we're training away at the moment. We're in maintenance mode right now.
What does that mean?
We're training twice a day.
Okay.
Over in America, we train 3 times a day.
Right.
So we do. So we did a run before we came up here, and now we'll train later on when we get back.
Just with your dad out the back of the house, is it?
Yeah, at the back of the gym, we'll do a boxing session. So, and then once we get back into Los Angeles, we'll be full on training camp mode, and back off where we left off.
And when can we expect? I know if there's plans, you're not allowed to announce them. Do you know? You said February.
Yeah, we're hoping at the end of February that I'll be making my debut.
Nice one.
Yeah, so it'll be very exciting.
What about yourself, Aaron?
I have no date yet, but we're looking sometime in March.
Are you gonna come? So when you come back in the studio to us in 1 year's time, are you both going to still be undefeated? Well, you'll have started your career.
Yeah.
I like that confidence. Lads, it's been great to meet you. Great to catch up, and congratulations on everything. It's great to see two lads from Monaghan doing so well abroad and representing Ireland. Keep it up, and best of luck for 2019.
Thanks very much. Great to be on.
Aaron and Stevie McKenna there, home for Christmas, training at home for Christmas. They're determined young lads, and they've got very, very bright futures. Things are going very well for them, and very nice lads as well. You can watch the full thing back there. We only just played a couple of clips. It's about half an hour long. You can get it on youtube.com/offtheball. Plenty of other good stuff in there as well. Stephen Doyle is in studio with us. The first thing Michael Verney said to him was, how about that 5 in a row? The first thing Stevie said to him was, how about that 7 in a row?
Well, look, Jim Gavin signed up for another 3 years, so it's better. And I believe there is a clause in his new deal as well that they can automatically trigger the 8 in a row as well once he wins the 7th. So
right, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. I thought that you meant that they can trigger, like they can automatically win the 8 in a row. Or he's got a 2022 deal.
Once he wins the 7 in a row, the clause is automatically triggered that he stays around for the 8 in a row.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
It's mad.
And so on, if it goes 8 to 9 to 10.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like a rolling deal. Yeah, absolutely. So great days for Dublin, and you know, not the only Christmas cheer. I want to bring some Christmas cheer to you as well, Owen.
Yeah.
The FAI confident that they're going to edge England in the race to get Declan Rice to pledge his international allegiance to the boys in green.
7 out of 10. I'm 7 out of 10 confident right now.
He made himself unavailable, of course, to ex-Ireland manager Martin O'Neill for the Nations League game against Wales in September. But new manager Mick McCarthy is said to have had a positive meeting with the West Ham star. Reports claim that former Ireland skipper Robbie Keane was also present when talks were held in London this week. I think they did mention the fact as well that you had given him the International Player of the Year award, and that could have been a big swing in the talks.
Huge swing. No, not just a swing. It was the single biggest reason. Declan Rice picked up the phone to Mick McCarthy and he was like, I see I was given the Keith Andrews Show International Player, Irish Player of the Year. Can you please come and talk to me, and I want to play for your country. So
absolutely. You're
very welcome, Ireland.
Well done, Owen. Manchester United's new manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, will speak to the media this morning. It's his first news conference since joining the club until the end of the season from Norwegian outfit Molde. The man who replaced Jose Mourinho has been getting a lot of love from his fellow managers this week. Pep Guardiola, Maurizio Pochettino and Jurgen Klopp have all expressed sympathy with the man United sacked earlier this week. The latest gaffer to pay tribute is Frank Lampard, who of course played under the Portuguese at Chelsea. They won 2 Premier League titles together and an FA Cup. Lampard, currently managing Championship side Derby County, gave some interesting comments when asked what managerial tidbits he picked up from his old boss.
Well, I took from what Jose Mourinho did to me as a player at 25 years of age-ish was give me a huge amount of confidence. Of course, he's a tactician, and his training and his preparation for games as a group was brilliant. But for me personally, the self-confidence that he gave me as quite a slightly shy kid, I think I probably was at that point. I didn't really believe completely that where my game could get to, and he kind of dragged me up by my the scruff of my neck in footballing terms, and I'll never forget that.
I just thought that was interesting because the amount of times Mourinho went out in public slating some of the younger Manchester United players. Where was the old Jose that used to, get younger players, put his arm around them, fill them full of self-confidence? Like Damien Duff always said as well that Mourinho was great at that kind of thing. Where's he gone?
That has been the misconception that the game has passed Jose by. I don't think the game changing has been the problem here. I think it might have been Jose Mourinho changing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think that's a fair point. Like he never looked the same Jose at any stage, did he really? Yeah. Like where was the confidence in himself, and I suppose the confidence in himself that he would have in the team as well. Like he never seemed to have it. Do you know what I mean? It was strange. He just looked like a different manager, which is very unusual. Like I thought you were going to say Frank de Boer was one of the managers, and then I realised that's probably fairly unlikely. But it's gas. It just kind of disappeared.
It's funny. I was watching one of those Premier League season review shows there a couple of weeks ago, and there was a little snippet of a post-match interview he gave, and he was like saying, look, they'd obviously had a bad result. He said, look, you know, I'm not going to go into the dressing room and start slating the players or giving out to them. We lose as a team. I kind of go, you'd never hear him saying that now.
Bizarre,
you know, when a team has a bad result, he's always out kind of finding some way to criticise somebody else for his failings.
Three.
So look, the Premier League action this weekend gets underway tonight. Liverpool, no win at Wolves will keep them top of the table this weekend. Fancy football players, get your teams ready nice and early. They go into the match a point ahead of champions Manchester City, still unbeaten in the top flight, the Reds. That game at the Molyneux kicks off at 8. The festive season of Interpro derbies in the Guinness Pro 14 also gets underway tonight. Ulster entertain a much-changed Munster team. Head coach Eoin van Graan made 13 changes for the trip to Kingspan Stadium. Jaco Tote will captain the province for the first time. Internationals Andrew Conway, Keith Earls, Joey Carberry, Conor Murray, Ty Byrne, Peter O'Mahony and CJ Stander all rested after that gruelling Champions Cup loss to Cast. Ulster have made 3 changes to the side that beat Scarlets in the Champions Cup. Ireland internationals Rory Best, Ian Henderson and Jacob Stockdale make way. 2 of the new faces come into the pack. Rob Herring starting at hooker and taking over the captaincy, while Loch Ian Nagle returns from injury to make his first start for the province. Academy winger Robert Balcoon comes in. That one kicks off at 7:35. Of course, Leinster welcome Connacht to the RDS tomorrow. Those 2 teams will be announced later this afternoon.
Now, you've got more.
Well, there was just... I know we're going to talk about albums this morning, but I was also kind of looking around this week kind of for some interesting gifts to find for people for Christmas. Look no further than the O'Neill's website. And of course, when we go to the O'Neill's website, we're looking for GAA jerseys, that kind of thing. Of course, we have a few here in the studio, but I found out that O'Neill's are making ploughing championship jerseys.
That's brilliant.
I'd say you're no stranger to the ploughing
look at that. Letting off steam.
Letting off steam.
Oh my God.
Some beautiful old ploughing machinery. I love this one with the cows.
Oh my God.
Have we got the back of that cow one as well? There's some lovely line there. I'm a little Frisian. Folks, they're only 2 of the jerseys that you can get. There's about 25 of them there. They're absolutely incredible. Some of the best O'Neill's kit I've ever seen.
Michael, how many of those jerseys do you have?
I don't have any, but after today, and I go on the website in the next 20 minutes, I'd say I have a couple of them.
We did want to chat to you about music this year because I brought this up on the news round last night that Off the Ball has a checkered history when it comes to our taste in music. So I was listening to the show on the last week of 2009, and somebody was presenting. It might have been Jer. I don't know who it was presenting. They picked the best song of the decade on behalf of the team Off the Ball, and they picked Mr. Brightside by the Killers. So after that, you know, confidence has been dented in the organisation as, you know, a sensible organisation. All credibility was gone, but you're going to try and salvage it. Richie McCormick was on giving his album yesterday. You've got your top 5 albums of the year. Like Michael Darragh Macaulay gave us 11, so I'm not saying you're lazy or anything, but like, sure, you know, top 5 is fine.
I actually had 25 on my shortlist, and I was like, what's Owen doing to me here, trying to get it down to 5. I'm going to kick off with, I think it's actually been a brilliant year for Irish music.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to see Fontaine's DC tonight. If anybody hasn't listened to Fontaine's DC, do. They haven't released an album yet. It's been all singles. The gig tonight, Button Factory, is all sold out. Tickets are like gold dust.
That would be a good Christmas
present. The hype around this is incredible. But the Irish album I'm going to go for my top 5 is by a guy called Kevin Smith, who goes under the name Kojak. He released an album this year called Delhi Daydreams. It's, I suppose, what you might call a kind of a concept album. Look, it's hip-hop. I think, you know, hip-hop is making huge strides, especially American hip-hop, but Irish hip-hop is making massive strides, and this guy, I think he's just made a really intelligent hip-hop album. There's a lot of self-analysis. It's what you might call autobiographical. There's great little, you know, he raps in a Dublin accent as well, which I love. Like Fontaine's, their lead singer Green sings in his Dublin accent. I love to hear. Look, it's why Dolores O'Riordan was so popular. She sang with the Limerick accent, you know, and that's why I think somebody like Kojak is going to be successful. He is true to himself, dare I say, but you know, he just is who he is.
So he's your number 5.
He's my. I'm not going to.
Oh, you're not going to order them?
No particular order. Yeah. So I'm just going to say, Kojak, Daily Daydreams, get that. I just want to give a nod as well to Villagers, Conor O'Brien, great artist. That album, The Art of Pretending to Swim, not in the top 5. But the reason I'm mentioning him is that he's on another one of my top 5 albums, which is Paul Weller's True Meanings.
Is he on the album, yeah?
Yeah, he is indeed. Does a guest song. I think it's the first track on the album. Look, as people can probably tell, I'm a massive Paul Weller fan. Love the jam, love my mod stuff. But Paul Weller's produced this brilliant album, which he's kind of, the last couple of albums have been pretty good, but this one, he's absolutely nailed it. I think he's stripped back. Paul is very influenced by a lot of the old folk singers like Gordon Lightfoot, Nick Drake, these kind of brilliant artists. And I think there's a huge influence on this album from those two guys in particular.
We need to tag Graham Hunter in that tweet. He'll be very, very happy with you.
There's a particular song called Gravity, which he did. I went to see Weller this year. It was in February in the Olympia. And you know when an artist plays a new song off a new album, that's generally when people go to the bar and gets all, people start chattering and whatever. But he played this tune, Gravity, and you could hear a pin drop in the Olympia. It was absolutely amazing. But a fantastic album. Really recommend it. Sticking with the guitar theme, moving on to Rolling Blackouts, Coastal Fever. The band I used to hate telling people about in the early days because I couldn't remember their name.
Oh yeah, you told me about these guys about 20 times.
Absolutely, based in Melbourne. They had a couple of EPs over the last few years, Talk Tight, which I'd highly recommend as well, and The French Press. But I actually got to see them twice this year, once in Primavera, once here in Dublin, in Whelan's. The Dublin gig was phenomenal, absolutely jam-packed, and they played an absolute belter of a gig. It's what you'd call indie kind of jangle pop. It's just brilliant. It's guitar music. It's just stripped back, excellent, brilliant melodies, great songs, great voices, just amazing album. So that's that there from Australia.
So we're into your top 2. I'm taking this as a 5-1. I'm just going to take.
Okay. We'll go. The next one then is Akku. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Akku is she's half Welsh, half Dutch. She's produced this fantastic, I suppose you call it electronic. Psychedelia, definitely influences of maybe the likes of Can, Kraftwerk, Air as well, be another band I'd kind of say she's influenced by, but just some brilliant electronic music. If you're into electronic stuff, I'd highly recommend this, really good. She's half Dutch, half Welsh, as all the great
people are.
Mixtures go, yeah, absolutely. And the final one.
Drum roll, please, lads.
Ed Sheeran.
This is number 1 because Eoin wants it to be number 1, I think. Yeah, absolutely. This is John Hopkins, who I'm sure most people who are into electronic and dance music are very familiar with. John Hopkins. Funny thing about this album, when I heard it first, I wasn't sure about it. And sometimes when you hear an album, but then actually go to a gig by that person. So I went to see John Hopkins at Body and Soul this year in June. And when I saw it live, the whole thing just made sense. It was incredible. How do you describe it?
Together.
Absolutely. It's sparse, it's fast, it's electronic, it's soundscapes. It's brilliant. It's absolutely amazing album. It sounds just amazing, doesn't it? Like, I know you're a big fan of this.
I was expecting to go left field with this list, but this is extremely hipster, so congratulations on all of that. I don't know what they're trying to say to me. There's one last thing before we get Alan Quinlan in is the soccer list, or the top 10 sports list. This is the one last thing we wanted to get you to kind of have a take on. Soccer not being the top 10 sports in the world. What's your take on that? This is something that's been
my personal
taken the storm this morning.
What's Vladimir Putin said? Soccer is popular. Isn't that the famous line? Look, if Vladimir Putin said it's popular, of course it is. Who made this list? Who said it's?
Michael Verney made this list.
Oh, right.
He put me on the spot, and I said soccer's not in my top 10.
Oh, Michael. Well, I can't see what have you got ahead of it? Hockey in there?
Hurling, snooker, darts, boxing, wrestling, horse racing. I forget the other 4, but they were all there on merit.
Horse racing isn't even a sport. It's people on animals going around in circles. So that's, you can move that one out there, put soccer in. That's what I'd say.
Interesting.
That is an interesting take at 8:55 this morning, and you've got to go do a bulletin at 9 o'clock. This is something that we could get into for an hour. Thank you very much for your list.
Cheers,
thank you very much for your list as well. Nick, you're going to stay with us. We're going to get Alan Quinlan in studio next. But before all that, Tommy Walsh joined us in studio for a Christmas special on OTBAM yesterday morning. You can listen back to the podcast or watch it on YouTube as well. Here's a quick clip. This year has been a strange year.
Yeah, It has. It hasn't. I don't think that could happen. I think I love it as much as you could possibly love it. So, but it does. Like, I love being, say, a part of it as regards playing in it. As much as watching it is great, but I do think that to be involved in it, whether that's as a water carrier, as a selector, as a manager, as a physio, as just to be part of it, is even more special. So if you're watching these club campaigns or the Limerick, the Limerick win in the All Ireland, like, and if you see all the boys around it, not just the players, not just the manager, but the management teams or people that are closely involved with it, the enjoyment they're getting out of it is even another level again. So what I would hope is that we keep remembering that yes, it's great as a supporter and we love it, but what's even more special is to be part of it and to be involved in it in some way. So yeah, no, it is actually been a hectic few months.
Did you think, say, obviously the club was very different, but when it came to actually playing with Kilkenny, that you appreciated it as much as you could have? Like, did you kind of soak it in as much as you could have when you realised that you were part of one of the greatest teams of all time?
Yeah, we did, because we were lucky enough, whilst with the media we weren't, too open, or like, we had great crack, and the characters we had on our team are huge characters, and we just never allowed that into, giving interviews because we wanted to win, but like, our dressing rooms were epic. After training, before training, while we took training serious, around that, even after our victories and our losses, our winters, we were very close. Like, we were like a club team, really. Like, whilst, you didn't have to be best friends with everyone. Like, you had great friends in there that it was like they were your school friends. And we were lucky enough that I wouldn't look back and say, right, because Brian Cody probably, his mantra going in was that he'd create a spirit that couldn't be broken. We all know that at this stage. So that was our number one, and the winning came after that, made it that bit more special.
Yeah, the Christmas Tommy Welch special there, you can watch it back on our YouTube. We are turning to rugby. Alan Quinlan's here. Very good morning to you.
Morning, Eoin. How are you, Michael?
You didn't stay as late as Michael did at the Independent Awards last night,
No, I didn't. He had a little lie-in this morning. I was up early, but it was a great night. It was no surprise that Johnny Sexton got Sports Star of the Year. I think he's been phenomenal this year and got World Rugby Player of the Year a few weeks ago, and main driver behind a lot of the success in Leinster and in Ireland. So it was a great night. But there's a lot of great sports people there. The ladies hockey team were honoured again, which is what their achievements over the summer were outstanding. And it's just nice to be in a room with so many people who've achieved a lot of success this year for Irish sport.
Yeah, nice time of the year to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I met Kelly Harrington in the lift in the Croke Park Hotel just before the event, and it was nice to see her as well. Her win a few weeks ago was incredible, but great year for Irish sport in general. But it was a good night. We
were just saying at the top of the show that it's, when it comes to like football fans, it's like an incredible time of the year to just sit back and just completely indulge in sport over the next couple of days. Rugby's obviously turned into that over the last few years, where like you can completely immerse yourself in it for these next 10 days or so with the Interpros. The way it's kind of set up with team sheets and all that, we can see the fixtures on screen, starting with Ulster against Munster tonight, and then Leinster against Connacht tomorrow, and then the following week it's Connacht against Ulster and Munster against Leinster. But I was just going to say there, when it comes to the team sheets, of course more in the new year as well, that the idea of these being huge games, Jordy Murphy is saying that these are as big as European fixtures. Does the idea of the Munster team sheet announced for tonight kind of lessen the appeal of the fixture somewhat?
Yeah, a little bit. It's understandable. It frustrates some people that, maybe they've lost a little bit of bite, but it's a good opportunity for some of the young players. I think Leinster-Munster next week will hopefully be full strength from both sides. Now Leinster sent down a weakened team last year, and they won in Thomond Park, and they're capable of doing that. They're the one side that can probably cope with the rotation.
By weakened team, it was like a team of emerging stars, really. Like
yeah, it was. Yeah, to be fair, you look, that's the strength and depth they have, and I think they'll probably send a full strength team next week. Will they go? They'll probably rotate a little bit and go a little bit weaker against Connacht, but weaker to Leinster doesn't really affect them too much these days, which is a great sign of the quality they have coming through in the young players who are trying to grab an opportunity and putting pressure on other people. You saw those results against Ospreys and Dragons in November internationals, where they just blew both sides away. that's the strength they have. So inevitably there's going to be rotation. Munster make 13 changes. Jean Klein is back. I think they could have done with him in Cast last week. We spoke about that earlier in the week. There's a good opportunity for some players. Tommy O'Donnell is back in the bench. That'll help. It's good for him to get back. He's had a lot of injuries, and Gavin Coombs and Fineen Wycherley, players like that. Alex Wooden hasn't featured a lot this year. He gets a chance in the wing. So there's opportunities for players throughout these interpros. You want to try and win them. It's tricky. It's a hard place to go up to the Kingspan. Ulster have been on a good run the last few weeks, and a lot of positivity back there. Some of their Pro 14 form, even though they've got results, they hadn't been setting the world on fire before the last round of European games. But certainly they'll be full of confidence, and they'll want to get a result there tonight and keep that feel-good factor going in Belfast.
For sure. Like when you look at the Munster team, I know you've got to manage minutes and all that sort of thing. With 13 changes, you couldn't expect them to start maybe 2 weeks in a row. But I thought the best thing from a Munster perspective might have been to just get Joey Carbery back out there again, because you know yourself that if things don't go your way on a certain day, you just want to get back on the pitch ASAP and right the wrongs.
Yeah, of course, but they all have to understand now that there's a lot of change. He hasn't played a lot of rugby really this year. Not a huge amount of games anyway. But look, I'm sure it's part of the player welfare programme, and he'll play against Leinster next week, and he'll play probably against Connacht as well, and then they have a kind of a busy run with Gloucester and Exeter. So it's I always found that if you didn't have the best of performance, or if you made some mistakes or errors, that the best tonic for that was to get out the week after. But that's out of his control, and Johan van Gran has went for JJ Hanran tonight, which it gives JJ a chance. You know, he's played well for him recently. He was really good against Cast and Limerick, and it's a chance for Bill Johnson to come onto the bench. So it's not ideal for Joey. I think, like I said, I'd like to be getting straight out there.
Yeah, like Roger's writing about Carbery this morning in the Irish Examiner, and he says he would have been humiliated getting taken off, and that Van Gran's decision to take him off might have, actually kind of watered the seed of him actually creating some doubt in his mind that this thing just didn't help.
Yeah, look, Roger obviously know better that with a 10, there's so much decision making going on, and it's a real confidence booster of a position. Like you can go really well, or you can get blamed for a lot of stuff as well if things go wrong. And I think that's what happened Joey a little bit last week. I think he's forwards. Your halfbacks are only as good as how your pack play. Of course, you can do something individual and brilliant that can change a game, even if your pack are under pressure. But I think the amount of pressure Cass put in him last week, and obviously the kicks, they're about confidence as well. You get the first one, you start believing that they'll all go over, and we've seen that historically from kickers, that once they get their confidence up in all sports, if you're taking frees in hurling or football as well. So yeah, look, it is a confidence thing, and will his confidence be dented? I think he's very level, he's a very grounded person anyway, and I think the reason for taking him off was probably if another penalty came, that JJ Hanran would take it, and his kicking has been, and I heard that before the Cass game, why he's ahead of Tyler Blandell at the moment, because his place kicking is really good, and his place kicking has been good this year. So that was probably the reasoning for it. And you think, what's Joey Carbery thinking if he thinks, I get those last 10 minutes, I get one to nail it.
Yeah.
But sometimes that opportunity it's down to the coaches on the sideline. They make those decisions in the heat of the moment. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. But I think overall that performance last week was there's issues there for Munster around their accuracy and around getting bullied a little bit away from home, which is a concern, and I think that would be a concern tonight. And that's where you're talking about the ideal scenario. Could they have gone full strength? But look, the Leinster game at home it changes that. They've got they've lost 3 in the Pro 14. 3 of them have been away. Glasgow away is always a difficult game. Leinster away is always a really difficult game. I think the one in Cardiff was kind of brought up a few concerns and issues.
Yeah.
And then they went to Exeter, in fairness, and they got a fantastic draw there. But it was a game, again, they should have won. So they're not closing out games, tight games that they should be winning.
You mentioned they're getting bullied away from home there, like this idea of, I guess, taking control of a situation again. Like, I'm just going to lean on Roger's column here a bit for the next few minutes. He talks about the red mist, and he mentions Dennis Leamy being able to control that red mist and being able to walk in and not get bullied, but channeling the anger in the right way at the same time. How do you do that? Were you of a similar mind, like Leamy, to be able to do that, or did you get carried away more?
Jesus, me control the red mist. No, yeah, Denny, he's very right about Dennis, because Dennis was a hard bastard, and he was someone you wouldn't mess with, and he was someone that didn't say a lot, but his actions kind of dictated a real physicality and a presence. Dunica the same, Paul O'Connell, you know, we had a pack that was, you know, just, we didn't want to be intimidated. And to be fair, that stuff, it takes a bit of time to get to that stage where you're really dominant and physical. It's not about being a hard man and standing up to people. It's just about your actions as a unit and being really tight as a unit. And I think so Munster are well capable of being very physical, for sure.
Say, they have those players.
Yeah, they have, yeah. And I think, look, the modern day game, and this is where it gets misconstrued sometimes, is about, oh, if that was the old Munster pack, we would have done X, Y and Z. We went to Cast, I remember going to Cast in 2004, and we had a similar situation. We lost 19-12, and there was a lot of stuff going on off the ball. There was a lot of verbals. So it can happen any team. There's a perception there that the Munster team I played in wouldn't take that. Probably towards the latter stages when we matured and got really confident and dominant, and when we had a good few hidings. I remember we went to Neath one time in the early days of the Celtic League, and Declan Kidney after the game was furious because he said the one thing he cannot accept is that we get a beating physically if we lose in the scoreboard. And that was something that kind of resonated with a lot of us over the years, that, you know, rugby is it's physical first and foremost. You can have all the skills in the world, but if you're second in the collision areas and you're getting dominated, a lot of sports are the same, even though they're not as much contact. You know, if you play a soccer match and you're getting bopped around the place and your man is putting more pressure on you and he's winning those tackles, he's a bit more physical and he's a bit more determined and has a bit more spark to him. So Munster had plenty of that last week, but they weren't protected by the referees and stuff. But I think Cardiff, again, bullied is a big word.
It is.
It's a word that, you know, it's just the opposition are being a bit more dominant, and they have a bit more reactive kind of energy, if you like, and they're more playing to their crowd. And it's the dilemma of home and away performances in all sports. That's the mental intrigue of why should it be different when you go away from home? Yeah. Well, the crowd play a part. You're travelling, you're out of your own environment. The other crowd are like caged animals and they can't lose at home, that type of mentality. And that's the intrigue of trying to break that. I think that this group are probably, they've got to learn from some of those lessons. You know, the Cardiff one was probably, like, they went to Glasgow and they were dominated physically. Now it was a second string team. And if you want to be the first in your position in any provincial team or any team, you've got to stand up to those away kind of challenges. We had a lot of those in the early days in France where there wasn't much criticism if we lost heavily because there wasn't much expectation.
Sure.
There's more expectation nowadays, and probably expectation from themselves because, you know, they've got to deal with that. The concern for me is some of the accuracy and some of the opportunities. Like, they were fantastic in Exeter. They weren't bullied in Exeter.
No.
So they got to look at one and the other and say, why is it different? And that sometimes is down to a mental thing, and it's down to a collective unit being really determined to actually say, look, physically, we've got to set the tone here early on away from home. We've got to quieten the crowd and stuff like that. So they went to Exeter against a very dominant pack normally who bully teams and who have really good set piece, brilliant scrum. And that's what Leinster do well now. They don't get physically dominated. And it's not that they're any harder than Munster or Ulster or Connacht. It means that they're mentally very resilient and they're battle hardened and they're talented, absolutely. and they're hard guys who step up, and that they have a hard edge to them.
Just on that point, because O'Gara is calling them Kings of the Jungle this morning, Leinster that is, they've earned it. They've earned the title. They've earned that title. They get the 50-50 calls, he says, even the 40-60 calls. It is no reflection on Wayne Barnes to say, and I know it's a big comment, but that game last Saturday in Cast would have been ref differently were Leinster involved. He refers to it as being the Manchester United thing when Keane was in his pomp at Old Trafford, and they weren't slow to remind referees of the fact.
Yeah, we weren't slow either when we were dominant in Europe with Munster, and it's understandable. You do sometimes, well, that's what you want to do. You want to create a perception that your discipline is good, your quality is good, and that you're kind of expected to win anyway. So you want to create that picture and that mindset with everyone watching, the referees, the fans, everything. And, sometimes that's happened so many dominant teams that you always get the opposition going, well, it's just because it's Manchester United or just because it's the great Liverpool team of the 80s or
the All Blacks.
Or the All Blacks, and that's part of sporting culture. It's not always fair, but it's not wrong either, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you look back at some of these decisions, you go, yeah, but the All Blacks in rugby would have benefited, and it's part of a winning team that they create a culture of pressure. And pressure within themselves, but pressure on everybody else around them that they're supposed to win. And that's the great thing about trying to beat the All Blacks, and it's always been part of any teams I've been involved with when we came close a good few times, is dealing with that aura and that expectation and that some of that decision making that happens, and that comes from your dominance and your body language and all that kind of stuff. But Leinster weren't happy with Wayne Barnes in Toulouse when they lost the game, so you could argue that one or two decisions went against him there. But I do understand his point. Dominant teams in all sports, sometimes they've so much pressure and expectation that they do get the 50-50 call. And look, you're not supposed to win this, in a sense. It's kind of that. And why should you get a penalty? Look at France against New Zealand in 2011 World Cup. They should have got a number of penalties in that game to beat New Zealand. But you couldn't rip up the script there. There was so much pressure in that situation.
It's true. The idea last week, though, that, say, the Connacht incident would have got pinned at that moment, it probably isn't true. That probably would have been ref the exact same way. Like, what was your take on it? Like, you were in with us on Monday, obviously not happy with how the game was refereed last week. Connacht ended up getting 3 weeks during the week. Seemed quite lenient to me. Yeah, look, the length of the ban doesn't really matter to in a sense. I think it's no good to Munster, it's no good to anyone. There's a bigger picture here. People can judge me and say, well, I'm pot kettle, all that kind of stuff, and I'm in no position to criticise anyone for foul play or for being narky on the field or whatever. I never goaded on the field. I was aggressive and I got involved in a fair few scuffles and I gave away penalties, and it was part of my nature, and I've got to live with that and deal with that stuff. I was involved in the Leo incident in 2009, biggest regret of my life, career. So am I in a position to be able to talk about what Rory Cockett did? It doesn't really matter to me in a sense what kind of length of ban. The punishments are different now. There's one for eye area and one for the eye. I wish it was the same for me in 2009 because Gerald Davies, the Lions manager, had phoned me and said, "Look, you're gonna if you get it reduced to 6 weeks." He was kind of preempting, "We'll still take you on tour." And we spoke about that after in the appeal, and I pleaded to say, "Look, this was the situation, and that it wasn't intentional, and I still say it wasn't intentional, and I'm bringing up something that's well gone." Yeah. And I know in my heart of hearts it wasn't something that was intentional, and. But Rory Cockett, so it doesn't, I'm not focusing on the length of the ban, I'm focusing on what the referees missed. We could see it clearly that there was foul play on all the camera, the main camera. Yeah. So World Rugby came out this year and said they gave a directive about maybe less involvement for the TMO and stronger on-field decisions from the team of 3, the referee and the 2 assistant referees. And I just thought that didn't happen last week with Wayne Barnes and Paul Dixie's assistant and Matthew Carley. They never got control of that, and they missed a clear incident here that everybody could clearly see that something went on there. Now, to the better trained eye, maybe you can see that it was an eye gouge, it was a potential eye gouge.
it wasn't looked at. Cass went on to score a try. So, you know, again, the point of saying, well, look, Munster have only themselves to blame. Well, that was a 7-pointer that shouldn't have happened.
So just to be clear, they could scan back.
Oh, easily, yeah. Well, there's a TMO sitting in the truck, Michael, and his job is to look at that stuff.
It's not just
so
tries,
if I can see it, and you saw, I presume you saw it when it happened. Chris Clote went straight to the linesman. He was waving his hand.
So what we didn't see was a replay at the time.
Yeah, we didn't see a replay because it's controlled by French TV. Yeah. But if a lot of us can see that he's sitting, he has the benefit of replays and going back over stuff. Why Rowan Kitt, the TMO, who I think should be some accountability for that.
Yeah.
Why he didn't pick it up. So a lot of people are blaming Wayne Barnes. He's there to help Wayne Barnes. He's given him no help assistance.
What sort of accountability are we talking?
Yeah, and it's proven afterwards in the hearing on Wednesday that those decisions were all wrong. Like, that should have been a red card, and the other one on Rallier, the tackle on Peter Mandy should have been a red card. So
that's no good now. Like,
it's no good. It's no good.
What is the accountability now, though?
And it's no good. Well, look, the accountability scenario is, if a player messes up on a field,
he gets dropped,
and something goes wrong, he gets dropped, and he doesn't get picked, and he gets lambasted by his coaches. And I know the referees. It's a very tough job. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of decision making. There's a lot of 50-50 calls. There's a lot of interpretations. The reason we have the TMO on, and the reason it's been brought in, is to get decisions right. Look at modern day football, soccer. A lot of decisions and contentious decisions that are still going on with so much money in the game, and they're talking about, you know, bringing the TMO into the Premier League, and it's been trialled and all that. VAR was at the World Cup, but I think for to have the benefit of video referee, a TMO sitting in the truck, 2 officials there, and to get those decisions wrong. And it was, like, at the end of the day, it wasn't just those incidents. There was a lot of other stuff that went on that could have been handled way better. And Wayne Barnes didn't get it right. And we need to make sure going forward that you don't want to frighten people away from refereeing and lambaste referees, but you want to see a bit of human nature. If someone makes a wrong decision, that they say, look, we got it wrong here. So we don't hear from the referees. But like, Rowan Kitt is the one that should have been helping Wayne Barnes in a much better way, and his 2 assistant referees. You saw the incident with Vaupula, the number 8, and Paul Dix, the assistant referee, standing right there. He sees him hit Sammy Arnold. Like, it was only slaps, it was petulant, and then a knee as well as he's getting up. So what should have happened there was, he should have called, he has a mic, he should have called Wayne Barnes and said, number 8, have a word with him, tell him calm down. He's, like, it was Munster scrum. There was no reason for him to get the ball there and take a quick line up, because it wasn't his. But it was handled poorly. As a group, they need to be accountable for what happened last week, because there's a lot of money involved. And if Munster don't make the knockout stages, it could cost them €1 million or
something. Question. I think that's all fair enough. We should just to touch back on tonight's game before we wrap, because it is the game of the weekend. Like, it is. Is it a little bit of a shame that we're not going to see, like, Stander and O'Mahony tonight? Because when I look at Ulster at the moment, that Coetzee, Reedy, Murphy back row is really exciting. What's your take been on this?
Yeah, it is. I loved going to the old Raven Hill with a full Munster team and going in against the odds, and we won a few times up there and broke that kind of hoodoo. It was very difficult for us at the start to get wins there, and it was a great place to go. It was an electric atmosphere, and so it is a pity that people don't get to see Stander, O'Mahony, Keith Earls tonight, Conor Murray, but it's understandable. It's part and parcel of the modern game. We own the envy of the UK and France at times, and they're always giving out about this rotation and this player welfare. You know, it is the result of it. You know, it was, and look, Owen Farrell, he's an example of the amount of games he played last year as opposed to Johnny Sexton, and you know, they have a point, but it's just the way it is here, and it's the way the system works. And but I think, look, it's still going to be a bit of spark and a bit of bite to that game tonight. Munster beat them 64-7 down at Thomond Park, so they'll certainly want to, Dan McFarlane want to get him back for that. But it's a challenge, and I'm kind of intrigued about some of the Munster players, how they perform tonight. Conor Oliver's back from a long-term injury. Finian Wycherley at 6. He's strong, abrasive, athletic. how he'll go, and so it'll be an interesting one. But it is a shame that
Ulster are going to win, though, right? They're favourites.
Yeah,
home, good form.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they're in good form. They've only 3 changes. They look a lot stronger on paper, but it's a real challenge and a test for Munster, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Just speaking of teams in form, and just a final point: RDS tomorrow. Connacht going there, looking for 6 wins in a row. They haven't won, I think, away to Leinster since 2002.
Yeah, we haven't seen the teams. Obviously, they're not going to be out till lunchtime, so we're not really sure. I'd imagine Leinster will go with a fair bit of rotation, and Connacht will try and play. I'm not sure what Andy Friend will do, because they've been on a great run, and do they really believe that they can win there, or will he make some changes?
But they surely can believe that.
They have more depth this year, and they've obviously a feel-good factor that they're getting some positive results. They're playing some really good rugby again, so there might be an opportunity. I remember going there last year and working for the Connacht Leinster game last year, thinking, Jesus, this is the one. This is one that they have a real chance. And previous years under Pat Lam, thinking they're going to break this bit of a hoodoo that's gone on for a long time, and Ulster and Leinster have just produced the goods. They're very difficult, and it's a long time since Leinster have lost at home, and I don't think they'll lose tomorrow.
So we're talking Ulster and Leinster wins this weekend. Quinny, thanks a million. Thanks for everything during the year. Have a happy Christmas. Enjoy it. We'll see you in early 2019. Thank you very much. So one more piece to bring you this morning on OTBAM. Cameron Hill is going to join us here in studio. He entered and won our Vodafone X competition, you might remember, that we ran back in November. It was open to students all around Ireland. The prize was an iPhone 8 with a year's subscription to Sky Sports. But the winner would also win a chance to work with Off the Ball for the week. That's the best part of the prize. We'll find out how he got on in a few moments. But first, Cameron put this report together for Off the Ball. It's on a certain World Cup that's taking place in Ireland in 2019.
The Irish Quidditch Cup takes place here in Trinity College, Dublin on the 12th of January. 3 teams from across Ireland have already registered for the day, and I'm here with tournament coordinator Philip Moore, who's going to tell me about the event and Quidditch in general. Philip, it was here last year, it's back again this year in Trinity College. How important is it that you guys have it again?
So this location for us is really, really important. It's so centric to Dublin City. It's a popular area, will be seen, and being seen is really important. We put all the teams, they really put in so much work in trainings and going to other tournaments and learning and developing your skills more and more, that when we have the Irish Cup, it's really important for us that we get a little bit of recognition for what we do, and that's going to be really part of being in Trinity, is getting spectators in to see it.
Most people will be familiar with it from the Harry Potter books and films. It's a little bit different to the one you see in the movies, isn't it?
Yeah, so the sport has changed a lot from the books, and huge elements have been kept from the books, like really important parts of the sport. So the biggest change, that's the big elephant in the room, is that we don't fly on our brooms, but I'm sure fans of Harry Potter will be able to recognise components of the game, like the beaters and throwing bludgers to knock players out, and the quaffle players trying to score points with the quaffle. And of course the golden snitch being the ending of the game.
Just in terms of what's going on during the day, it's not just matches, there's plenty of things to do, all free of charge of course. What can people expect if they come along to the Cup on the 12th of January?
So people can expect that there will be some really good games of Quidditch played, both competitive games and friendly games, which will all be really important for us. So our competitive games will be the 3 Irish teams fighting for their place, because there's only one place for an Irish team to go to the European Championships. So it'll be tough games of players who really will want to go to the European Championships. But then after that, we're going to mix things around and have friendly games where all the teams are mixed together, and our referees and volunteers and coordinators can come and be a part of the day with us.
Brilliant stuff. So the 12th of January in College Park, totally free of charge. There's no reason not to come down here for the Irish Quidditch Cup. For offtheball.com, I'm Cameron Hill.
And Cameron Hill is with us in studio. You're very welcome, Cameron.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you around for the week. That was Philip Moore speaking to you, but straight away I'm calling out Philip Moore. He referred to one of the positions on that Quidditch team as a quaffle player. when in actual fact it's called a chaser. So I'm sorry, but as a Harry Potter fan, I've got to call that out. Michael Verney here was absolutely astonished that there's a team in Offaly.
I'm making my inter-county return. I've never watched a Harry Potter film.
It's going to change now.
Half an hour, maybe one Christmas day, but this could make the top 10 sports.
Look, you know, I mean, the guy was just, you know, you're
stepping
coming of age,
yeah.
Quidditch, that's big stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's a gateway drug, GEA for Quidditch, as the old saying goes. So, like, were you big into that before, or were you like, this is a story that I just want to do, it's kind of curious, or is that right up your alley?
Yeah, just something different. I sent in the Frisbee video that I did a couple of weeks ago, where I just tried it out for Trinity News, and I just wanted to do something different for the week. There's so many people who do rugby or ask people their favourite sporting moment of 2018. I just wanted to, you know, make my mark, so hopefully that will suffice.
Do you think Quidditch is going to get into your top 10 sports?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah. It was Ultimate Frisbee, was it?
Ultimate Frisbee
yeah,
as well,
brilliant game, yeah. Brilliant game. I used to play a bit in school, actually. I used to do when I used to teach a bit. Yeah, really interesting game, yeah.
I signed up for Ultimate Frisbee first year in college.
You got hit in the forehead, no?
Close enough. And it just ended up going back to somebody's house drinking beer out of a Frisbee, which I thought was kind of weird. Kind of very unhygienic, to be quite honest with you. So that's that. How have you found Off the Ball? Like, this is the thing. You can tell us now. Nobody's going to tell you off if you absolutely slate any of the people out in the office.
He's not out there, is he?
No, he's not out there. So like, I was going to ask you to power rank the soundest people in Off the Ball, but I don't think we'd have enough people to do it. What have you thought of the experience?
Look, I think of 10 minutes, that'd be too much. But it's been class. Really, really informative. Great week. Great week to be here with Mourinho's departure.
Yeah.
Really cool to see it in action. But really informative, quite educational and hugely entertaining, I think.
Yeah, so what have we got? We've got Quidditch World Cup in January.
Yeah.
January, in Trinity.
In Trinity, yeah, in College Park on the 12th of January. So be there, I will be, so you know.
Absolutely, we need to cover that. Congratulations, and how's the phone? It seems like that's not the best part of the prize. Working with Off the Ball is the best part of the prize.
There you go.
Phone, the second best part of the prize, seems like a pretty good one.
I presume it's good. I haven't got it yet, but I'm waiting.
He's calling you guys out.
Look, Santa, if you're out there, you know, it'd be great on Christmas Day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Cameron, great to meet you. Thanks for coming in this week, and thanks million for that. Quidditch World Cup in Trinity next January. Of course, Ireland won the Quidditch World Cup in what, 1994? Or no, late 90s was this? I can't remember.
It was
the one where Oliver Crumb completely messes up. It's in the fourth book.
That's right, yeah. I mean, Italian 90, whatever. You know,
yeah, forget Italian 90.
That was the big one.
This is the big one indeed. And Michael, thanks million for coming in. Enjoy Christmas. Most importantly, post-Christmas, enjoy the BDO darts. We'll have to get you on. Who's the world champion again?
Glenn does a Durant, going for a 3-timer, yeah.
Glenn does a Durant. That is a name to keep an eye on over the Christmas. That is us for this week. We'll have a couple of special shows coming up over Christmas. Keep an eye out for them on our social channels. Follow us at Off the Ball on Twitter. You can find us as well on Facebook or on YouTube. We're back on the radio from 7 o'clock this evening. We'll chat to you then. Bye bye for now.